Okay, so I have some printable items from In a Creative Bubble Shop. I have a few cards and items from Ali Edwards and Studio Calico monthly kits, of course. And I've already pre-printed all of my photographs. So let's get chopping. Okay, so I am using In the Woods journaling cards and Explora journaling cards from In a Creative Bubble Shop. Both, I think, are really nice printable sets and just thematic wise really work well with the spread for this week. So I'm trimming the cards out, and once I have the cards that I think I want to use, I will begin kind of organizing and arranging the layout for the week. So this week is all about camping. Woohoo! I love camping. It is I it just brings me so much joy to go camping. I love the simplicity of camping. I love that there are no video games. I love that it means we're sitting around a fire, parents and kids laughing and talking. I love that the men are playing cornhole together. I love that the kids are in the dirt playing pickup sticks. I love that the wives are always cooking. It's all good. I love it. It makes my summer whole. We used to attempt to camp twice every summer, once at the beginning to open up the summer and one to bring the summer to a close. But now that the kids are bigger, we have so many sports and activities going on, and there's so many different families that participate. This time around, we had 28 people. We've had close to mid-30s folks camping with us. So that makes it a little tricky in terms of getting everybody's calendars in alignment. So we will only camp once, but this one was great. It was just unbelievable. So I wanted to make sure I incorporated all of my thoughts into my journaling this week. So I did journal before scrapbooking this layout. And at this point, I'm just going to trim down the cards. Now you see me turning. That's because I trim a little on the left, trim a little on the right, trim a little on the left, trim a little on the right in an attempt to try to get that paragraph, which I justify in Microsoft Word when I create the journaling block. And so I'm trying to get the journaling block center on the 3x4 card, or at least, at least close to being centered. So I have three kind of full paragraphs, each one on a card. And then I had these two little sentences about our tent and how I think this is the last camping trip and we're going to have to get another one next summer. That little sentence did not make it. It just was too awkward. Or I probably should have aligned the sentences differently in order to include it with the photograph of our family tent. It's okay, not a big deal. The main thing was to get the larger journaling blocks included, and they are in 10-point font. So that was the other thing. It would have taken up way more space if it was a 12-point font, but I used 10, and sometimes I've done that in the past. Sometimes it's more like a 10 and a half, 11. It just really depends on how much I have to say. So this week I had a lot to say, so a small font and 3 journaling cards. All right, next up, the other thing that I thought I wanted to do was to include this ice cream cone. Now, if any of you have received the Studio Calico monthly kits for a while, this card will look familiar to you. I've had it for years, at least 2 years, and I've just held on to it because I loved it so much, so I was hoarding it, and I decided I was finally going to use it, but I don't like the rounded edges of the card, so I thought I'd cut it out, and then I'd use a little bit of cork, and I'd pop it up to give it a bit of dimension. I had this whole thing worked out in my head. Ah! And I'm showing you all of this because after it's all said and done, guess what? I decided I didn't like it. There was nothing wrong with it. I didn't hate it, but I don't know. It just wasn't doing it for me. So I'm going to create this card. I'm going to stick the ice cream cone down. In the end, I'm going to move it. or get rid of it. I'm not going to throw the card away. I will put it in a little junk cup that I hold on to with various elements. And I usually will pull them out for something else. But it just didn't make the cut this week. I bet some of you have had this happen to you too. So I thought rather than cut it out, I'd leave it in because it happens, right? We have a vision, and sometimes the vision works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so next up for me is just going ahead to adhere the photos down. And normally that's step one. I was so excited about the ice cream cone that I did it first before I even adhered the photos down. So anyway, I'm going back to my traditional step one, which is adhere the photos to the cards. And then step two will be the embellishment phase. Now, one of the things I'm trying to do with this week is use lighter cards because I have so many photographs. And this week is really, really busy in terms of the spread with so many different photographs. And many of the photos are fairly dark. A lot of the camping images are under the canopy of trees. And so the darkness makes the spread on the right-hand side of the layout pretty heavy. So I'm intentionally trying to use mainly white or light cards. At the top, you see I did select two cards that have half of the cards are dark. And then what I did was one is the dark top and the white bottom, and the other is the white top and the dark bottom. So my hope was that that would balance it just a little bit. But other than that, most of the cards are pale grid, or they've got a little kind of pale pattern to it, but pretty much light or soft designs to balance, again, the busyness of the photographs and the darker kind of color of the photographs as well. Okay, so just a little bit in terms of kind of how my mind um, was working this week. I don't know if that makes sense at all. All right, so let's see. Oh, a few more photos to adhere down. Oh, that's just a photo of me trying to pack all of our camping stuff. I was going to use another word, but our camping stuff. Photo of the kids coming back from the pool. The other crazy wonky thing that happened this week, I decided to go for a quick little morning jog. It's really more of a jog walk. I discovered a new path. I thought, oh, I'll take this path. It will probably come out somewhere along my traditional route. No, it did not. Instead, it meandered 6 miles and I could not get off the doggone thing. At the 9-mile mark, when it finally ended, I was dehydrated and exhausted, and I had to call my husband to pick me up. It was crazy. And I didn't see one other human soul. Crazy. And he was a little bit upset with me. He was like, "You weren't safe!" But I survived. So I had to journal about that this week as well. Okay, so the other thing I'm trying to do here is determine my embellishments. And I've determined that I want to go with kind of a circle theme. Since I don't have a theme in terms of color, I thought I would try to use circles to kind of bring a bit of cohesion's the wrong word, but kind of bring the spread together. So I've got several of the circle kind of chipboard elements that I'm using from both the Ali Edwards and the Studio Calico chipboard sets that come with each monthly kit. In addition to that, let's see, in the most recent, I think, Ali Edwards kit, there are these acrylic words. And so I thought this acrylic word here might be a nice touch with all of the different camping photos. I also like that it was white. The bond word doesn't work. It's too heavy with the photograph. And so I'm going to skip it and not use it. So I'm playing around, though. I'm not exactly sure. I'm also playing around with the different circles in terms of placement, in terms of color as well. Although this layout does not have a color theme, I am aware that there's a little bit of yellow on the left, and so I want a little yellow on the right. a little pink on the left, so I want a little pink on the right. So trying to be mindful of balance, even though there isn't a color theme per se. Okay, so putting a few stickers down, I'm going to go with that big pink. Remember this chipboard element, which I think is really nice. Again, balancing with the bit of pink on the bottom of the card on the left. Placing that little plastic word enough on top of all of our camping gear. And, yep, so, and that little half yellow circle I think is really nice with that darker blue card. I went with the dark blue card because I've got a little bit of the dark card on the right and the darker photographs. And so the left seemed a little bit light, and I wanted to have a balance again between the heaviness of the right and the left side. Okay, so looking through one of my little junk cups to see what else I might want to incorporate into the spread. Not sure. All right, so now I'm going to take this little plastic packaging. And we all have tons of this plastic packaging. And here we're going to upcycle. Woohoo for upcycle. And I'm going to trim the packaging down just under a 3x4 so that it will easily slide into a 3x4 pocket. And then I'm going to pull out some of my bling. And I'm not worried about color here because, as we all now know, there is no color theme going on here. And just going to stick some of that sequins into the pocket. So it is trimmed. Let's see, it's open on the left and on the top. So on two sides, and it's closed on two sides. But here's the beauty of it all. When I slip the packaging into the pocket, I'll do it right side up so it's closed at the top. And then I don't need to sew. I don't need to sew. I don't need to stitch. It automatically keeps all of the sequins and blingy stuff inside of the pocket. It's awesome. Super, super easy. Something to think about trying. Okay, so now I'm also going to use this little pale blue card on the left hand and this other little circle element. And I'm almost done. So I haven't used these Tim Holtz phrase stickers in some time. They were my ultimate fave not too long ago. And I thought that they might add a nice little touch to a couple of the photographs. And just having a hard time finding a few phrases that will work because it's a thin selection. I mean, I used to use this little collection all of the time. Okay, so that little phrase there says, look on the bright side. The first night we got there, it poured rain. So I thought that phrase was perfect. And indeed, we had a blast despite the rain. All right, so doing just another round of checks in terms of any other elements that I might want to include on the spread this week. That little red chipboard piece doesn't work on the photograph of the tent, but it does work on the photograph of the boys coming back from the pool, and it simply says summer. And there's a little element here that says wild about you, and I'm going to attach that to the photograph with the tent. We are wild about that tent, but it is time to let it go. It was leaking. I guess we could just spray it again, but I want another tent, so I like tent shopping. Okay, so last up, I just need to complete my date card. And I'm just going to use a little printable label, really simple. And I realize I've got several yellow elements, and so I'm going to go ahead and use a yellow printable label just to add a little bit of brightness to the page and some yellow numbers for week 28. And that is it. Voila, we are done. Yes! All right, thank you so much for watching. Hugs and hugs and hugs. And I'll see y'all real soon. Bye.